Hello everyone, Comrade Snake here. I am here to give you the after action report after the final turn number 6, and it went both as expected and not expected. Certain things unfolded weirdly and or not as dramatically as would have hoped. So to cut to the chase, the Syrian player got Syrian government player got a minor victory, the conditions for a minor victory. Got that backwards. The Syrian player did not get the conditions for a minor victory. They didn't meet any of their victory conditions. They had their prerequisites, but not enough spaces. They have 10 spaces plus their important ones, but they did not get, they don't have enough to secure the actual victory. The Syrian rebel player did get a minor victory. They have control of 6 spaces. They don't control Damascus or Aleppo, and would need one more space to get a major victory with enough spaces in one of those cities. The Syrian player did manage to retake Damascus. A counterattack by the rebels did a decent amount of damage with a heavy exchange, but was unable to actually retake it, especially with the IED marker, which they played, but did not actually help them in the initial battle. The Syrian player rolled a 6 and was able to kick out the rebels and reoccupy it on the first offensive. Over in Aleppo, there was the Syrians had attempted to attack the Turkish forces up near Yarbalis, but they actually didn't really do any damage. They just hurt themselves and then tried to consolidate Aleppo. The Turks took Raqqa to get that extra space to secure a minor victory. But the really important thing is Iraq scored a decisive victory. They control 25 spaces, including all of their important ones, to gain a decisive victory. Baghdad, Karbala, Fallujah, Mosul, and Basra. Basra was never really threatened, but, still is a thing. So that's pretty much all Iraq's game. They never really got hurt too badly in most exchanges. The coup card dropped. It was not as effective as the Syrian rebel player was hoping. They managed to gain control of the H3 space, and they actually took control of the Mosul space with 2 infantry units. But all of the rest of their roles either did nothing, or I think most of their roles just eliminated the Iraqi units, which didn't really help them they needed to gain control over those spaces with the militia, like force out the militia and gain control, because the Iraqi player would have had to burn an extra card for more offensives in order to retake the territory, wouldn't have been able to use their combat cards, and the rebel player was stacked with combat cards since they went earlier, so they tried to use those cards to screw over the the Iraqi player, and were kind of successful somewhat. The initial counterattack with the Al-Quaz division from Sinjar to Mosul just got bloodied up thanks to some spaces, and it was actually a near-run thing on the attack from Erbil to Mosul, which had all 3 units. The Presidential Guard division was strategically moved back to Erbil just to more of like a make sure kind of thing, even though there was nothing actually that could happen, but I don't know, it just looked better on the map. But yeah, Mosul was retaken, which was the big deal. That would have knocked them down a major victory, which means they still would have won the game, but a little less, I wouldn't say dramatically, but with a little bit less decisiveness. Well, I guess literally decisiveness, since it would have knocked them down a major. But so the Iraqis won. Some of this I think was card draw, in that there wasn't enough Daesh being drawn to keep them pressing in all directions from the other players. But part of the reason why I think that happened is the Syria front was so hot all the time that they didn't really expend much energy to try to restrict Iraq, and that kind of ended up biting both of them. They just fought each other. They needed to play it a little bit more cool and knock Iraq down a bit. And if maybe if the coup card had been drawn earlier, it would have made a difference too. It's hard to say. This game is so volatile in how much things can kind of shift. So it's hard to predict how things will go down, which does make it interesting to play, just to see how everything can go kind of wild. It's an interesting play. So that's the end of scenario 2, and I may go on to another scenario of this. I might move it to something else. I got an unboxing video that'll be coming out after this. I might even try to play that, although it's a whole new game series that I wanted to get into for a long time, but haven't actually dove into yet. So that might take a bit of time to get used to it enough to kind of film some play, probably some learning play, but I still want to have at least a little bit of familiarity before I dive right into that. But anyway, that'll be for a video for another time. But this was the end of scenario 2 of Fitna. I hope you enjoyed watching.